Are you a woman of faith in business who is aspiring to start a podcast, or maybe you have a podcast and you want to rebrand or relaunch your podcast? I have good news for you. Announcing and introducing She Elevates Media. She Elevates Media is a collective and a collaboration project and your marketing team to launch your podcast. We will assist you from beginning to end in launching your God-given message in the marketplace in the form of a podcast. We help you plan the podcast, we help you publish and produce the podcast, and we also help you promote the podcast. So this is something that is new to the marketplace, and I am one of the individuals as a part of the collective of your marketing team. So I encourage you to go to sheelevatesmedia.com to learn more about how we can partner with you to launch your podcast, to rebrand your podcast, or to relaunch your podcast as we walk you through the path to profiting in your podcast, where we plan, we publish, we produce, and we promote your podcast. Learn more at sheelevatesmedia.com. Welcome to the Women Faith Plus Business Podcast. I'm your host, Nadine Mullings. I'm an author, speaker, and podcast host, and I believe in the importance of women of faith stepping up, shining in their lane, and sharing their God-given message so they can have the impact, income, and influence they were born to make. Join me this season to discover how women of faith in business are using podcasts as their platform to share their mission-driven message. And be sure to join the Women Faith Plus Business community by going to NadineMullings.com/community. That's NadineMullings.com/community. See you in the powerful community of women of faith in business, and enjoy this episode of the Women Faith Plus Business Podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Women Faith Plus Business Podcast. I am excited to speak with my next guest for so many reasons. As I say every single episode, I am excited to speak with every guest, and it is true. And I'm excited to speak to this particular guest because she is a 4-time guest on the podcast, the only person in the entire seasons of the Women Faith Plus Business Podcast that has been on the podcast. This will be the 4th time. And the reason why she's a multiple guest or has guested so many times is because she's my business bestie. I turn to her for everything, right? I swear I called her last week saying, Carol, I can't do this anymore. And she's like talking me off the ledge. So she is an awesome business bestie. She's a counselor. She's a coach. She's a guide, she's an instructor, she's an encourager, the list goes on and on. So I never hesitate when there's an opportunity to have Carol on the podcast, not only because of all the things that she is to me, but all the things she brings to the table for the audience. She is a powerhouse and full of so much wisdom. And honestly, she should have been the first person that I reached out to when I had this season on podcast, because she was the one that helped me to launch my own podcast. So she knows what she's talking about. And I'm super excited to have Carol J Dunlop on the podcast today. Welcome to the show, Business Bestie.
Thank you, business bestie. Bestie, I'm so happy to be here. And it's okay if you didn't think about me first. I know you're trying to not saturate your podcast with Carol J Dunlop, but Carol J Dunlop saturates anyway. So, you know.
There you go. There you go. Exactly. God had other plans, because behind the scenes, we knew that God desired for you to be on this season.
I guess so, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we had to have you back on the podcast. And as you know, this season, we are talking all things podcast and podcast hosts. And Carol is the host of the Unmarket Your Business podcast. So today we're going to be talking all about the Unmarket Your Business podcast. But before I get into that, even though I know Carol so well and you may have heard her on other episodes, let's also get the official bio. Let's find out exactly who Carol J. Dunlop is. So Carol J. Dunlop is the online wow strategist and 10-time Amazon best-selling author, influential podcast host, and expert event producer. She teaches purpose-driven entrepreneurs like those listening, like me, to convert marketing into money. It's not always easy, and she does it using their wow website. Everything starts with that website, along with the best unmarketing strategy so you can fund your lifestyle using your business. So Carol's clients hail from cities across the US, Canada, South Africa, New Zealand, Australia. So talk about international. She has international clients, and Carol is currently working to promote the best-selling books, influential podcasts, and expert summits that she and her clients are creating. So that is why Carol is so awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank God. It's really all this is due to God. None of it's due to just me alone, because me and God be having some conversations.
Exactly. I love it. I love it. So I just read your awesome and amazing bio about all the things you do and how you help. But there may be some things that maybe people don't know about you, maybe something that you haven't shared on the podcast before. I know you have some new news, so maybe that might be something that you want to share with the audience with some changes in your life. So tell us a
Definitely.
little update or anything that you feel led to share with the audience.
Well, sure. One thing that your audience and many people don't know is that my husband and I relocated to Mexico, Playa del Carmen, Quintana
Wow.
Roo, because that's the state, Mexico. I have to get used to saying that. We just say Playa del Carmen, Mexico, and that's not even right because we don't say Atlanta, USA. So
Mm-hmm.
we've been here since August. We are loving it, and we will probably be here a while or be bipping and bopping around the world from this location because as I feel like we escaped the States. Oh my gosh, we had to get out of there.
Yes, I love it. And I love this for Cal because it's something that she's talked about for a while. We've known each other for many years, and I've seen her in different seasons of her life. And I know this is something that she's desired, moving internationally and traveling and all this. So to see it come to fruition and know that she now lives in Mexico just makes my heart leap for joy because
Yeah,
it's
me
me
too.
seeing her live in her dream, live in what
Yeah.
she talked about. So I love
Mhm.
that you shared that with the audience. And for anyone that's interested or thinking about, doing something brave like that, definitely reach out to Carol. I'm sure she'll be happy to share her story or any
Yeah.
resources with you if you're interested in doing something like that. But today we're specifically here to talk about your amazing podcast, Unmarket Your Business. So the Unmarket Your Business podcast gives you tested, effective, tried and true marketing strategies that really work to help you convert your marketing into money. So get ready to discover marketing strategies that are true to who you are and how you want to present your business to the world when you listen to the Unmarket Your Business podcast. So, Carol, I want to hear the backstory with the podcast. Tell us a little bit more about why you started the podcast and, yeah, just why you started the podcast. What was your inspiration?
The inspiration was actually the book, Unmarket Your Business, 10 Ways for Savvy Entrepreneurs to Stand Out, Stop Struggling, and Start Profiting. I had wanted to produce a solo book for a long time, and I wasn't able to do it. I finally got it. I put it out there, and it went all the way to #1 international bestseller on Amazon. I was like, yay, this is awesome. Now, how do I keep this going and get the word out? So the
Yeah.
first thing I thought about was, I can take my book and turn it into a podcast by talking about a different strategy because there are 10 strategies in the book. So I can talk about one strategy per month, and that'll give me enough info for the episodes for at least 4 episodes, a month, 4 episodes a month. So I
Yeah.
was like, okay, well, I have a good 10 months, maybe 11 months worth of content. So that's cool. And then to top it all off, I said, I need to do a summit because I love virtual summits as well. And there's no better way, I think, than to put an injection of money and authority and put yourself all over the place as if when you're doing a summit, with a number of guests, you're interviewing them, you are the bomb.com. And so I knew that that was going to add to my authority. And I knew that a podcast, the thing about it is you're like in your people's ears every week that you put that podcast out, or every time you do an episode, because everybody doesn't do them weekly. It's all sorts of different things going on now with how people are doing secret podcasts. And I don't tell anybody about my podcast, and you're a special,
Private.
you're special in this private podcast and all of that. So whenever you put your episodes out there, people are listening for it. If you're being authentic, if you're really offering them value, if you're helping them. And so I knew that what I was offering was helping them because my book went to #1 and it was international. And I was like, people want this information. Let's break it down. Because sometimes when you read a book, you read it, you put it in your head, but you need to hear it again somewhere. And I figured if I could be a host and get on there and talk about each little piece and break it down, I could make people understand it better so that they can actually do it. Because my thing is always like, take action. You can't do anything. You can read all you want. You can listen all you want. You can go to all these freebies. You can do all these webinars, and you can hire coaches and you can spend thousands of dollars, but until you take action and do something, nothing happens. So that was my whole goal behind it. Let's make people take action. They can listen, they can watch, they can read. Now, they'll be able to, I'll be able to just follow them around everywhere. So that was the impetus for it. And that was 2017 when I launched it. And it kept going for until 2021, I think it kept going until then. And then I brought it back.
Yeah. So I want to highlight a couple of things. This is why Carol is a genius, right? She had this virtual download, like, hey, it's not just a book. So for those who are listening, who are authors and you have an existing book, a podcast is really a great way to amplify that message. Like Carol said, not everyone is going to pick up the book and read it, but the stories that you told, the strategies in the book, the steps in the book are all needed and necessary for people who may not have picked up the book. So a podcast is a great platform and ability to amplify that same message from your book. And I love what Carol shared is that the name of the podcast is the same as her book, right? Unmarket Your Business. So you have the branding, of the book, and you have the branding of the podcast being the same title. So you know that they are connected. So I love that that was the idea that Carol came up with. So if you are an author or even an aspiring author and you have different sections of your book, as Carol mentioned, how many sections did you have in your book? Because you talked about 10 episodes or 12 episodes.
It was three sections. It was like a pre, and then the actual content, and then a post at the end. Because my book, the book coach that I had, she just like things coming in threes. And at first it was only the 10 strategies. And then she was like, I need to add something on the front and the back. So we did that. But the strategies are what I concentrate on the most, because everything in the beginning and the end kind of feeds into them. And so that was 10. And guess what? Since 2017, I still use every single strategy in there that I'm talking about. They're still viable today. They still work today. The same things. There was no hypey stuff, no, get rich quick stuff. It was real principled strategies and tactics that work. Now, some things may have changed just a little bit, like we don't use beepers. I wasn't using the beeper there, but I had a friend of mine who wrote this book, and she said, and it was like 10 years until it got published or something. She was like, I had to go and change stuff, like the beeper was beeping or something. I was like, wow, stuff you don't even think about, when you're doing it. But real talk, when I put it out there and I talked about the podcasting, I was talking about video podcasting. I was like, well, audio is the thing right now, but you may want to do a video so you can put it on YouTube. And guess what? That's what I'm doing now. So it's all relevant.
Exactly. So if you have principles, strategies, and steps that remain relevant, a podcast is really a great way to update people and say, hey, it might not be
Mhm.
XYZ, but it's still ABC that's relevant,
Right,
right? So it
right.
really continues the conversation. So I love that you continued the conversation by creating the Unmarket Your Business podcast. The other thing that you mentioned, and I have to say congratulations on being a bestseller on your
Oh,
book
thank
because
you.
as I mentioned in the beginning, this is the fourth time Carol's been on the show. One of the seasons, we were actually featuring this book on Market Your
Hmm.
Business book.
Yeah.
So, in addition to the book, now we're featuring the podcast. So, it's genius to have both, as I mentioned, the book and the podcast. But here's the thing, Carol has a whole framework. She mentioned
Hmm.
she had the book, then she started the podcast, but she also mentioned something that I want to make sure the audience is aware of, which is summits, right? So
Right.
summits allow the message to create a movement, right? So
Hmm.
the book is
Hmm.
kind of your solo thing, your solo voice, your solo strategies and steps. And the podcast can be your solo voice and your solo thing, or you can bring on guests to amplify it. But the summit makes it a movement, right? The summit is now inviting other experts, other people that agree with the message that your book has, and taking it to a movement level. So tell us a little bit about that particular strategy or download as to why you felt summits were also a great addition and you had the Unmarket Your Business Summit.
Well, thanks for asking that. And I wrote that down. Turn your message into a movement with summit. So
With
I'm going to
some,
be using that. Y'all watch that because I'll be using that right now. That was brilliant. That was divine right there.
I love it.
Basic, basically, it was a way for me to get in front of more people because I already had the book that I had featured a lot of people in, used quotes from, you're in the book, a quote from you and my people. I was just really trying to include as many purpose-driven entrepreneurs as I could in everything I was doing. So when I
Mm.
did the podcast, of course, I was inviting them and all that. And then I did the summit. I can't remember if I did the summit first or the podcast first. I don't remember right now,
I
but
want to
either
say you
way,
did it at the same time because I remember when you approached
yeah,
me to
you're
be on
right.
the summit and then you
Hmm.
said, and we're also going to do a podcast episode. I was slightly confused. I was like, well, we're doing a summit. I was like, what's going on here? So I think actually did both of them together, which is
Right
genius.
about the same time. Yeah,
Yeah.
one was promoting the other. They all were talking about the book. And on the podcast, I was really just talking about the book. And I tried to have one or two guests in there who could take the explanation that I had come up with and what I was doing, take it a little bit further. And that happened. But the summit was a way of just interviewing, like you said, starting this movement thing, interviewing people about how they are unmarketing their business. Because I actually did a summit named the Unmarket Your Business Virtual Summit. Now that was after that was like 2020, but the first one was online business success. And I'm like, we're putting this out there. I just wanted as many people as possible. I wanted to get in front of as many people as possible to hear my message, to understand what I was talking about, to relate to me, to know, like, trust, and then buy for me, ding, 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 if I had something for them that would help them. So, and I knew
Yeah.
I did. I knew I did,
Yeah.
teaching this whole thing about these 10 ways. That's what I'm still teaching the thing about the 10 ways to, do your business right now. Even in my academy that I had, which is called the
Mhm.
Unmarketing Academy, right? In the
Yes.
academy, I just expanded that. I have the summits in there. I have each individual video that I did and broke down every piece of the book, because the book is the thing that is like all encompassing. You can, when you write your book, you can feed off of that thing forever for ideas. And even like you said, Nadine, if it changes, it may
Mhm.
not be ABC, maybe it's DEF, but it works similar because the whole thing is about getting you in front of the audience who wants to hire you and pay you.
Yeah, I love that. So let me just break it down for the audience. So Carol started with the book, Unmarket Your Business book, that became an international bestseller, amazing bestseller on Amazon. But she did not stop there, right? She had a God-given message because this is all about this season, God-given messages, God has given
Mhm.
each and every one of us, as we listen, as we watch, what is that message that He's planted in your heart that can be impactful in the world, that can make a difference to someone's life or in someone's business? So she was given the God-given message of unmarket your business, and she created a written book in the written
Mhm.
form. And then she said, okay, we can do so much more, amplify it by in the spoken word. And that spoken word is the podcast, what we're talking about today. But she didn't stop there because she is Carol and she is and she said we can do a summit, as we mentioned, and create a movement and get other people talking about this. Even though initially the summit was named differently, she did go on to have the branded Unmarket
Mhm.
Your Business Summit. So this is her framework, guys. So pay attention. So it's something you can easily do yourself, but also you can reach out to Carol because she helps people to actually create each one of these pieces. And we also are aligned on a project to help people create these pieces too.
Right.
So the summit, and then she didn't stop there, and she did an academy. So she had the Unmarket book, Unmarket podcast, Unmarket summit, and Unmarket academy. Genius, genius. So our
Thank you.
focus today is the Unmarket Your Business podcast piece, and you kind of briefly spoke about stopping it, right? And I
Mhm.
wanted to talk about, sometimes we have seasons where, and even behind the scenes, I was talking about other things with my podcast. Sometimes we have seasons where we feel like we want to pause or stop. So walk us through why you decided to stop the Unmarket Your Business podcast, and then also why you decided to relaunch it and how it's changed since the old version versus this version. Because I think it's a good thing for people to understand who have podcasts that sometimes you get tired, right?
Right. And my thing wasn't getting tired. It was that I hired a new coach. And when I
Mm,
hired a new coach, she looked at what I was doing and she was like, Carol, because I didn't have a signature program. In 2020, I didn't have a signature program at all. It was mainly just the website design. And then I would teach people on the other end, how to market. And she said, well, we have to get you a signature program, something, your big hoorah, the big thing. And I was like, oh God, what could that be? So I was like, well, wait a minute. I've been doing creating books since 2020. When we first did the gratitude journal, that was the first time I did a collaborative book. I was like, well, that was pretty good. I took that to bestseller. And then I think I did another one right after that. I was like, well, that was bestseller too. So the book is definitely that. And in my own book that I was writing about the 10 things that helped me, I wrote in there the number one thing you need to do, to stop struggling, start profiting is write a best-selling book. So I was like, okay, that's number one. I'm doing that. The second thing, of course, was the podcast because I love how you said the podcast can amplify your brand. Going to start using these things that I just learned today because God gave them to me. And then so I was doing that and of course doing the summits and stuff. Then I was like, I need something more. I was kind of like scattered, kind of like all over the place doing these things, and I couldn't really figure out how to put everything together. And you know how who is it? Our friend Lisa Biggins says, the power of one. Do that one thing. Well, way back there in 2020, I was thinking about I need to do this power of one thing. I need to do this one thing. I need people to understand it because up until that time, it was this side or this side. It was marketing or websites, but they really went together. So she was like, okay, this is what you need to do. Come up with a program where you teach people how to do these things. So I went on a research kick. And when I researched, man, I researched. This was way before, y'all, this was way before AI, chatbots, and all that stuff. But I was still researching the old fashioned way, searching Google. And I had found this other program that was similar to what I wanted to do, who did the same thing. They taught people how to create their first book. They didn't necessarily say bestseller, but their first book. And they taught them how to start their podcast. They even provided them with the people who they could guest on. I was like, oh, that's good. Then they said the final thing, it was the summit. I was like, that's my business. That's what I want to do. The only thing was I had events in there as well, and there was supposed to be like a whole year, you do 3 months of each one, and then you just go back to back to back. And when I got to the event thing, I was like, I even told you, Nadine, I don't want to do these events. I don't like doing events. I can do virtual all over the place, but meeting it in person. I think the only event I ever did was when I actually launched the book. And you came to that as well. So see, we've been doing this for a long time. But it was so much work. Oh my God, it was so much work. Physical events and all of that. I was like, I am not, no, I don't want to do this no more. So I cut that out. So instead of it taking a year, it still takes a year, but we're only doing three things, which gave me some leeway because sometimes I forget, everybody doesn't want to run that 5 minute, 3 minute mile. Everybody doesn't. Some people want to run a 24-hour mile. And I have to be able to do that. But I'm right in the middle somewhere. I'm run that mile as fast as possible. My husband always tells me when we're out walking around here because we don't have a car and we walk everywhere, which is great. He was like, okay, we don't have to overtake anybody. We don't have to run up on them. We can go very slowly and just enjoy this walk. But when I'm by myself, I'm like, I got stuff to do. I can't be, da da da. He's like, no, let's just enjoy it. So that was where I was. I came up with the program. I came up with the brochure for the program. Everything was done. And I tested it and it actually worked because I got my first client and I called it the Authority Creators Lab. I got the first client for that within like a couple of weeks of getting everything together. So then she said, you should start a podcast with this Authority Creators thing you got going on, because you got the Authority Creators Lab. You're going to actually push it out there with the Authority Creators podcast. And then you can have Authority Creators something else that I was doing. I can't remember what it was. So I was like, yay. I was like, but I have to stop the other one. She was like, yeah, you don't need that one anymore. We're going up to new stuff. You know how coaches are. They want you to do what you tell them, what they tell you to do. And, this is new. I don't want no old coaching stuff. I want my stuff in here. I was like, okay. So I did that and I stopped that reluctantly. I stopped the Unmarket Your Business podcast, but it was just audio. And it was me. I would come on every week and I would, sit in front of Blog Talk Radio or even my phone or whatever I was recording on. And I would do it live. I had done it live for the first, for a while, and then I switched to recording. I really hated recordings. Like you were saying in the beginning, I don't like summits. I don't want to do a summit. I was like, I hate recording. I don't want to record no episode. I want to just do it. Because I knew me, after I finish recording it, that thing is over in the corner, in a closet somewhere, and I'm not even trying to do anything with it. And I knew it would be hard. So, but the Authority Creators podcast helped me to get out of that. It taught me some behind the scene things that I needed to do with my podcast, because I was basically mirroring what she was doing because she was she was coaching me, and it was good. And I think I got 30 episodes. And guess what? I have not released all of those episodes because halfway through, it was a bender when I went on a binge. It was a binge event because every Thursday for like 4 or 5 hours, I was recording. So I got all those episodes done. I was like, wow. But in the end, it just didn't feel right in my spirit. And I just wasn't getting, it's not even that I wasn't getting the attention on that podcast that it deserved. I wasn't putting the love into that podcast that it deserved, because I wasn't all in on that podcast. I mean, I was all in on the products, the Authority Creators Lab course and stuff, but the podcast it just was like, I don't want to do it. So then in 2024, I said, I'm bringing it back. I'm bringing it back because number one, I miss it. Number two, I always loved it. And number three, now I can make it even better than it was before. Now, the number one thing that it does, it's in video and audio, which I didn't do that before. But from 2020 to 2024, video was the thing, because with COVID, we could only do video. Nobody wasn't trying to listen to no voice online when they really didn't even want to be online, but they couldn't go anywhere, so they might as well, watching everything. And that's how TikTok took off. So I was like, okay, this is good. And then I said, well, if I'm going to bring it back, I'm going to bring it back with a bang, baby. I don't want just me sitting there, running through a script, or to have a guest on who's just talking. I want some extras. I want some goodness. So I really went down the research road again and found out all the little elements that I could add to my podcast. And I had a whole list of things that I could do. And I narrowed them down to just things that felt good, that my audience could relate to, that it would help them, and that it wouldn't be too difficult for me to do or create or whatever. So now, instead of just coming on, I have the guest or whatever, and then say goodbye. No, 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 no. We come on. I have a promotion mainly for the Unmarketing Academy because I think it's the bomb.com and people should be in it. And I don't know why everyone is not in it. And that's my goal, since my podcast is my main uh, thing out there that I'm going to use with my framework to take the content from. It's like big podcast, take it down, repurpose the little things, and then it's like I'm everywhere all at once, like that movie and stuff. And then I said, okay, I want to do a tech time because all purpose-driven entrepreneurs right now who are trying to get traffic to their website need some technology on their website, in their marketing, all of that. And then I have two promos in there where I say, hey, if you want to be a guest on the show, all you got to do is go to this link, fill out the information. And then I tell them also to look out for a spotlight. I'm spotlighting people. If you let me know that you used or did something you found on the show, I'm going to spotlight them because that's all engagements. That's all. I feel like a podcast isn't just me talking to you and that's all, or hearing the interview. It is me talking to you and engaging with you and helping you. Just like in the beginning, I want as many eyes as I can get on this book. So let's do the podcast. I want as many ears on the podcast as I can get because they're going to lead them to the book. And now I want as many ears and eyes on the podcast as possible because it's going to show them, how I am, how I use my hands. They can see me, they can watch it, they can read it, they can download the transcripts, they can download the PDF of the transcripts. It's on YouTube as well. And it's on it's Spotify. It was Anchor. Now it's on Spotify. Now it's distributed to all these places. I'm just everywhere because that is my main vehicle that's my main awareness vehicle, put it that way. So my main awareness vehicle is the podcast because it shows you. I talk about my family, my friends, I spotlight my clients, I talk about the books I've done, everything that I've ever wanted to do in one thing is right there in that podcast. And so I have plenty of content to chop up and put out there and show people, hey, I'm relevant and I can help you. You want some money? I'll help you do it.
Exactly. I love it. I love it. It's definitely your main marketing method. That way of creating awareness is the podcast and can be a podcast. So you shared so many good things that I just want to highlight and illuminate for the listeners as they listen to your story as you walked us through it. The first thing is you ended your podcast not because really you had a desire to end your podcast, but really being
Right.
coach led, right? So a lot of
Yeah,
times,
definitely.
and there's nothing wrong with being coach led. I
Mm-mm,
always
mm-mm.
preface it by saying, Holy Spirit can guide you to the right coaches, experts, guru,
Right.
and it's what you need, and you need to follow their direction. But sometimes when you're coach led and you're not checking internally, do I really want to do this? Or is
Right.
this coach just insisting that I do this and I'm just moving forward? It makes you out of alignment. And the way
Mhm.
it made you out of alignment, even though you were doing the podcast and you were doing the new podcast, at least what the coach had recommended you do, your heart wasn't truly in it, right?
Mm-mm.
Because you weren't
Nope.
spirit led, you were coach led, right?
Right,
So
right.
paying attention to, is this me being coach led because my awesome coach is saying to do it? Or is it me being coach led and spirit led and my heart is in it and I desire to do it? So I think that was a key point to really highlight to the audience is really paying attention to that internal
Mm-hmm.
guidance, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Carol always talks about spiritual downloads, and I always talk
Mm-hmm.
about being spirit led. We're
Mm-hmm.
gifted the Holy Spirit for a reason. It's there for instruction, it's there for guidance,
Right.
there for direction. So pay attention to how you're being led. And if it's not lining up with what your coach is saying and what you feel internally by the Spirit, then, choose not to do it. Even though she learned a lot of things in how to make her market her business podcast better. So
Right.
nothing is wasted. Let me put it that
Mm-mm.
way.
Nothing.
But it
Nothing.
wasn't in alignment with the way the spirit was leading her. So that was the
Mm-hmm.
first thing I wanted to point out about your journey is pay attention to what you're aligning or what you feel led to do when it comes to your marketing. The second thing that I wanted to highlight when it came to that new podcast that you started with your coach is that you batch recorded so many episodes, but yet
you just didn't feel right releasing those episodes,
No.
right? So you did the work. It's so important to do the work. But even after doing the work, in your heart, you were like, I can't even release this. I'm just not
Mm,
excited about it. I'm just not, wanting to put this out. So really pay attention to where your excitement is coming from, where your joy is coming from, when it comes to it. And then realizing that, hey, you can pick something back up. Right. So the next
right.
part of her story that I wanted to highlight for everyone is maybe you've had a podcast and you put it down and you haven't recorded anything in 6 months, or you haven't recorded anything in a year or over a year. If
Mhm.
you're being directed, guided, if your heart is being tugged to pick it back up again, there's nothing wrong with that. Pick that podcast back up again. If you have to rebrand it or relaunch it, whatever the case
Right.
may be, because you put it on pause for a while, don't be afraid to do that, because Carol was then motivated and inspired to change it up, right? Because of that
Yep.
season of pausing, she's like, hey, I'm coming back with the Unmarket Your Business podcast, and I'm going to make it even better. We're going to have all these different segments, and I've listened to the Unmarket Your Business podcast now, and I love the way you produce it and the
Thank
energy and
you.
the way that you added to it compared to when you first had it. So sometimes you may have a season of pausing a podcast. And it also allows you to be inspired during that time that you've paused, and to be able to relaunch it in a different way or rebrand it in a different way, that will engage the listeners even more. So I just wanted to highlight those key things about, you stopping your podcast initially, the reason why you stopped it, the reason why you picked it up, and some insight and inspiration that will be good for the audience. So I always love asking this question for every single person that comes on the episode when it comes to their podcast is, what is the key thing, whether it's one word or a phrase, that you really want your podcast listener to take away from the podcast? So if they just listen to one episode, if they will only able to listen to one episode of Unmarket Your Business podcast, or if they listened or watched it, what is that one thing, no matter what, you'd want them to take away from the podcast?
You know what it is? It's take action. Take
Mm,
action. We talk about it. All my guests, I talk about it with them in the very beginning because you were a guest on my podcast as well. We
mm,
talk about getting traffic to your website because
mm,
it's all, even from that coach and me stopping the podcast, starting it, I learned some valuable stuff in between there. And I know that now I am settled into my awesomeness, my genius, and my genius is, like I said before, is teaching purpose-driven entrepreneurs to convert marketing into money using their wild website. That's what I do. So, but that takes action. If you're going to convert people, you have to have traffic. You have to know how to have traffic. So that's our main number one question that I ask everyone. How do you get traffic to your website? And then they tell us, they tell me, or they share it with us. And I wanted to do that because I wanted to make sure that the overall business, Creative Services International, and this piece of the business, which handles the marketing, people know that they're locked in together and they're not just some arbitrary thing that I just started over there. No, the unmarketing business is really a piece of CSI Corporation because CSI Corporation shows you, and that whole thing with making money, it's like you got to have a great website. So we design websites. You got to protect your website. That's what we do. We offer protection and maintenance, security and maintenance services. And then you got to market your website. That's what the unmarket your business whole thing is about. But essentially, it's all about taking action. Because if you don't take action, nothing happens. You get, upset or maybe kind of cranky because nothing's happening, but you ain't taking no action. You got to do something. But I also know that people don't know the exact action that they need to take at any given time. Their clients come to me all the time. I don't know what to do. What do I do next? How do I do this? What comes after this? And so now I have something I can tell them. Well, if you want a great website, of course, come to me and let me and my husband design it, right? That's number one. If you want to protect your website, you better be with us because we're going to protect it. We're going to stop. We have stopped so many things from coming into your website and taking it down because how can you make money off a website that's down, right? And then number one, you got to market that thing. Just because you come out there and do a website, stick it on hosting platform, nobody knows it's there. So you got to market it. And then that's where the biggest thing comes up. What do I need to do to market? How can I market it? I wrote a book, got a podcast, I got a whole academy that'll help tell you all that stuff. So that's my thing. I took action because if I didn't take action, I wouldn't be able to tell you all this great stuff that I've done, that I have done, am doing, and will do, unless something else comes up.
Yeah, I love that so much, Carol. So the number one takeaway for listeners, whether they listen to one episode or they listen to several episodes, is take action.
Mhm.
Nothing happens in your business unless you take action. And I
Right.
can definitely testify that Carol embodies this message, right? She embodies the message because I know Carol is going to take action, right? Once we have a meeting or something we discuss, Carol the next day is implementing. She's not like me where I tend to procrastinate and take my time, and a week later I still haven't done what I need to do, but she's a fast action taker, so she embodies that message. But at the end of the day, the goal is whatever tips, techniques, tools that you hear on the podcast, don't just take it as, oh, this is great information, or
Right.
oh, that's great to know, but now apply, now
Yes.
implement, now
Mhm.
execute, now take action. So I love
Yep.
that your message on the podcast is take action. And this is the first time I've really heard you explain your business in those three buckets in a way. And it
Girl,
just
I told
seems
you I've been
so,
working. I've
yeah,
been working. God's been working with me, and doesn't it? I'm just saying, when you heard me explain it,
it
didn't you
was clear.
go,
It was clear. It was
okay, okay.
crystal
Yep.
clear. And I've known Carol
Yes,
for many
yes.
years, and I know what she does, and I know she does an amazing job. But as I was listening to you explain about CSI Corporation, and it's about creating the website, protecting the website, and then marketing the website. And you may have said it in the past, I don't know. But for some reason, it was just like ding, ding, ding. Ah, yes, I totally
Yes.
understand, the whole umbrella and the picture
Mm-hmm.
here. So I love that
Mm-hmm.
you have clarity in how you share that with the audience. So we talked about the podcast. We talked about all the amazing things that you do. What's the best way for people to listen to the podcast? What would be the best
Ooh,
way for them to connect and listen to the podcast?
great. Thank you for asking me that. The best way is to go to unmarketyourbusiness.com/podcast, because there are all the episodes there, even the older episodes are there. And they're in the very top. There are two banners. If you want to be a guest, click one. If you want to be, there's free, I also offer free coaching on certain episodes. We haven't gotten to it yet, but it's coming. A whole episode of just, coaching somebody to market better. And I'm actually thinking that I'm going to take that from the Unmarketing Academy. So if you're an Academy member, you get to go ahead of the line, baby. Just click that link and go ahead and sign up. But I am also taking people who are in the audience because I want to help you. I want to
Yeah.
help you. I want this value. And the main reason that I'm doing that is because when you start your business, or even if you've been in your business for a while, a couple of years, a couple of seasons, there are some things that you really don't know and ain't your lane. But I am in the lane of marketing, website design, and website protection. So we can talk about anything. And I know it will help the other people out there to what? Take action.
Absolutely. And I love that. Take note of how Carol promoted the podcast. Because a lot of times when I ask that question, people say, hey, it's on every platform. It's on Apple Tunes, it's on Spotify, and all the different places where you
Yeah,
can listen to and your podcast is. But the
is, yes.
number one place that she's gonna direct you to is your website on
Yes.
marketyourbusiness.com/podcast, because that is
Hmm.
the hub, as she's taught
Yes.
me over the years, of your business. So yes, it's okay to tell people to listen on all these different platforms, but make sure you're directing your traffic
Yes.
to
There
your
you go.
actual website. There you go.
Yes.
So I love that
Yes.
that's how she did that.
Yes.
And last but not least, Carol, I'd love for you to share you talked about how you help people create websites, protect websites, and market
Hmm.
your website. Tell people the best way for them to work with you and what services. Well, you kind of already talked about yourself. Anything that you want to offer or share with the audience and how they can connect with you, even if it's a freebie or something like that to help them.
Well, definitely, definitely. In all, we've done this for over 30 years, right? In all our 30 years, we've had people who have come to us with the most god-awful websites in the world, or, not having a website, or had the oldest website ever on earth, and like, I need to do something with it. And I would go through painstakingly telling them what they need to do, what pages they need, the content you need in order to get yourself up to date, in order to hit the ground running and be like, yes, with this website. And I was like, I'm just doing this too much. Let me just create a planner that will help you in all these ways. It tells you about writing conversion copy, being conversion focused, and it tells you all the pages you really need on your website. So you don't have to think about all those other things. Are these important? No, these like 5 pages or so are important, and it gives you a place where you can actually write the content down that you want, so that you don't have to worry, well, what do I want to do? What's my website going to look like? That more so than that, you need the content. What is your website about? What are you trying to do with your website? What are the goals for you and your website? So it helps you get all that down. All the pretty websites in the world don't mean a thing if nobody can see it or if nobody's going to it. So that's the part I help you with, to figure out what am I talking about? What am I doing? So all you need to do to get that is to go to my other website, which is actually my main website, csicorporation.com/planner. It's absolutely free. Go ahead and download it right now and get started on that wow website so you can get started making that money so you can live the life that you want to, not other people want you to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Go ahead and get that download so you can start planning out your website, and then Carol can protect you and help you to
Yes.
market your website too. And I cannot let this episode end without plugging our collaborative project. So you've been hearing
Yes.
this entire season, the launch of She Elevates Media. It's a media collective and collaborative, and Carol is a part of that, where we help you to plan, produce, and publish and promote your podcast. So we've been talking about it all season, and I did want to give a plug for She Elevates Media, and specifically Carol being a part of that project and a partner in that project. So I couldn't let this episode end without saying that, right?
Yes, definitely,
I'm so excited about that new partnership and that new project. And you've been hearing the commercial. You probably heard it in the beginning of this episode. You'll hear it at the end. Definitely go ahead and sign up to learn more about She Elevates Media. So thank you so much, Carol. It's always a joy. It's always a pleasure. We always get to learn stuff from each other. We love to co-create and collaborate. And that's why I love you as a sister and as a friend. So thank you for taking the time to be on this episode of the Women, Faith Plus Business podcast.
Are you a woman of faith in business who is aspiring to start a podcast? Or maybe you have a podcast and you want to rebrand or relaunch your podcast? I have good news for you. Announcing and introducing She Elevates Media. She Elevates Media is a collective and a collaboration project and your marketing team to launch your podcast. We will assist you from beginning to end in launching your God-given message in the marketplace in the form of a podcast. We help you plan the podcast, we help you publish and produce the podcast, and we also help you promote the podcast. So this is something that is new to the marketplace, and I am one of the individuals as a part of the collective of your marketing team. So I encourage you to go to sheelevatesmedia.com to learn more about how we can partner with you to launch your podcast, to rebrand your podcast, or to relaunch your podcast as we walk you through the path to profiting in your podcast, where we plan, we publish, we produce, and we promote your podcast. Learn more at sheelevatesmedia.com. Thank you for listening to the Women, Faith Plus Business podcast. I hope this episode has been insightful and inspiring and has offered you an opportunity to take action to transform your life and your business. Wherever you are listening, be sure to rate and review the podcast, and also subscribe to get the next episode right in your inbox by going to womenfaithandbusiness.com to join our email list.